Hello everyone, how's it going? Now I'm terribly sorry to break this news to you, but there are no shortcuts to OCD recovery. There are no quick, overnight, sudden fixes, I'm afraid. There are no loopholes that you can jump through to suddenly recover. There is no cutting corners that you can suddenly get to a robust level of recovery. You are going to have to cover the hard ground. You are going to have to go the distance. You are going to have to go the full marathon length. Okay? Because when you're dealing with such a relentless disorder, you can't just sort of cheat your way there. There is no sudden cheat code and then you're suddenly there. There is no quick, overnight, sudden fix and then it's all sorted. Okay, OCD will find a way in. Any chinks in the armour, it will get in. If there's any cracks with your rational beliefs and your unconditional acceptance and sort of the subtle compulsions slipping back in, or the very hidden ones as well, the sort of addictive escape mechanism behaviours, just sort of the poor life structures, the laziness, the procrastination, those kind of behaviours fuel the OCD cycle. Be very wary of your black and white thinking. Just be very wary of that, because you can't just half-heartedly put in the work. You can't rush this. You can't just suddenly forcefully get better. It doesn't quite work like that. Because when you are stuck chronically in an OCD cycle, you can't just cut a corner. You can't just suddenly say, right, if I just skim this book. Now, here's How to Stubbornly Refuse to Make Yourself Miserable by Albert Ellis. This is the first book on our reading list. Now, when I first read this, I was in a blind panic. I was hoping if I read this book, then I'd recover. Then I could just suddenly get myself to recovery and not have to worry about OCD ever again. How wrong was I? Okay, because that book, every time I read it, I think I've read this book about 5 times. Now, each book, it feels like a new time. It feels like the first time I've ever read it. Okay, because you're constantly picking up new information. And this book, we've got 6 books on our reading list, but the first and the third one, this is The Myth of Self-Esteem, also by Albert Ellis, another book that I read multiple times, I think about 4 or 5 times, and each time I read it, it's like, right. So these books that we have on our reading list, they aren't just one-time reads and then you sort of put your feet up and go, yeah, that'll do, I've made it now. No. Okay, because rather than skimming, rather than just sort of hovering over it and just next page, hovering over it, next page, I want you to really take it in. I want you to really apply what you're reading and apply it to your own situation, which is fueling the emotional disturbance. Okay, try and see how you are getting yourself in that position of how you're viewing things, the compulsions that you're doing, your poor life structure, the demands at play, or what you read in our books on our reading list. And then you can start seeing, right, how can I apply the tools that I've learned from these books to my own situation, to my own scenario, to get myself out of this particular situation. Okay, but you can't force that. You can't rush that. Okay, you can't just skip over things, right? What I used to do was, what I would do when I was in a bit of a crisis, I'd sort of go back to a chapter of the book and then just sort of reread that, rush over that, and expect to suddenly get better. Now, I'm not saying you have to read all the whole books again as soon as you're having a setback. No, because we advise just going over it again anyway, because these books, like I say, aren't one-time reads. But what I was doing, I was just wanted that quick fix again, okay? So I tried to sort of take a shortcut, rather than seeing, okay, what's fueled this setback? What's led to this trigger? What's led to this big relapse? I was just hoping just to read a passage of the first book again, and then it'll all be gone. Okay, so I was just wishing for that quick fix again. Okay, and OCD, you can't do that. Okay, OCD doesn't just budge by this sudden skimming of a passage. It doesn't just budge by one coaching call. It doesn't just go, right, if I cut this compulsion, then it'll be gone. No, this is why you hear us banging about perseverance, persistence and consistency. Okay, and obviously work and practice as well. Because anyone trying to shortcut their way to recovery, I wish you the best of luck. I tried it myself, it didn't work. Okay, Even if it felt like I was getting somewhere, like feeling better from shortcutting it, it never lasted in the long run. It never provided true freedom. It never provided true robust recovery because there were still many chinks in the armor. There's still many cracks in the surface that OCD was just going straight at and going through, and then I felt stuck again. Okay, because you can't kid OCD. You can't fool OCD. Okay, you can't protect. You can't just brush over a problem like it's not there. So, for example, if you are, I call this beating around the bush disputing. So let's say you have a fear. You have a very sort of taboo related fear. Now, you can't dispute every belief around all the different fears rather than the one that's bothering you. You've got to go into the eye of the problem, into the eye of the storm, get into the heart of the problem. Okay, otherwise OCD will go, hang on a minute, you don't truly accept that. You don't really understand that. You don't truly accept that at all. You don't really get under it. You don't really believe that. And then boom, OCD's got in there, firmly gripped, firmly latched again. And that's what it will do. Okay, so just be very aware of all the things you're doing to to do shortcuts and sort of cut corners. It's the same with doing compulsions as well. Oh, you know what? I'll cut that compulsion when things are going well. I'll cut it when I feel a bit better, maybe next week, maybe next month. Fuck it, I'll cut it then. You won't do that, I'm afraid, because when that next week comes, when that next month comes, you're going to feel just as anxious. Because when you even think about cutting the compulsion, you're like, oh, you know what, that's going to be too difficult, okay? This is why don't wait until tomorrow. Don't put off till a different time to start putting in recovery work, whether that's cutting compulsions, reading the books, doing your exposures, doing shame attacks, whatever it may be, okay? Don't wait until a certain time because you could be waiting a lifetime, okay? People often ask me, Sam, I know I need to cut compulsions, but I can't seem to find the motivation. I can't quite get the determination to do it. Why can't I feel motivated? And I say, because you're waiting around for motivation, okay? You won't just suddenly feel motivated to do exposure. You won't just suddenly feel motivated to put in recovery work. You might get glimpses of it, but don't wait for it. Because you're dealing with a disorder that you're going to feel very intense and consumed by the feelings, right? And that can easily weigh you down. So when you're feeling chronically guilty and shameful, you're not going to be in that position going, you know what? I feel super motivated and hopeful today. No, you got to do it anyway, okay? Do it regardless of how you feel. And the biggest thing with this, and the reason why people take shortcuts in their recovery journey and why it doesn't work, is because of procrastination. It's because of a low frustration tolerance. It's because they're putting things off because that's too difficult. I can't stand that. That's too difficult. That's too much. I can't bear that. I can't handle that. I just can't even cope with that kind of discomfort. I won't do it. So they're looking for that quick, easy way of getting better. That does not exist, I'm afraid. To get better from OCD, it is going to require so much grit and determination. You're going to have to just do it, okay? You're going to have to grit your teeth at times and just do it, okay? Don't wait for the fluffy, nice feelings. That will not work, okay? In the long run, yes, the feelings will obviously dissipate and the intense negative feelings will obviously fade. Of course, that's the long run. Where as recovered, there is no chronic anxiety. There is no chronic guilt, okay? But you're going to have to just do it anyway. You can't wait for those feelings to go right now to start recovery work. You have to take that leap, take that risk, take that leap of faith. Just take that jump out of the comfort zone. Because when you think of it like this, what inspirational stories are built on procrastination? When you look at stories of hope, when you look at the recovery stories, when you look at people who have faced some real hardships and some real adversities and some real challenges in life, they are not built on procrastination. They are not built on putting things off. They are not built on just taking shortcuts and just sort of gradually get into recovery. Then it doesn't work like that. It usually takes some real grit and really facing hardship and adversities. All of us here, all of us coaches have not had an easy ride. There is no easy ride with OCD. Maybe with the mild cases, very mild cases, with just sort of the general anxiety, well, that's very difficult, of course. But with chronic severe OCD, you can't just scratch the surface and then get better. Okay, you can't just use mindfulness. You can't just say, it's just the thought. Oh, it's just a silly little fluffy, wishy-washy thought. Don't worry about it. Don't worry, move on. It doesn't get under it. When you're convinced you are the worst person on planet Earth, you can't turn around and go, it's just a silly little thought. It isn't going to cut it. right? You can't just avoid all your exposures when you're almost housebound and living in that mental restricted prison of OCD and suddenly get over it. It isn't going to get under it. It's going to take that real leap of faith from you to get better. So think, if you want to put together a remarkable progress story, a recovery story, where you've come from rock bottom to an element of robust recovery, to get to that stage, it ain't gonna fucking happen overnight, excuse my language. It's not gonna happen overnight. It's not gonna just be you sort of waltz your way there, you dance your way there, hey, recovery. It's gonna take facing adversity head on at times. It's gonna take doing things regardless of how you feel. It is going to take so many ups and downs, and the downs will be very constant. It's not just constant down, 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 and then you're recovered. There's ups and downs. It's a roller coaster ride. It's a journey. Okay, it's a very bumpy ride. Okay, but you're going to have to take the good with the smooth. Okay, so take the smooth with the bad. Okay, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be a linear journey where things are going, well, yeah, recovered. No, it doesn't work like that. Okay, so don't sit around and wait for the motivation. Really think where you could be in 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years. That's not putting time frames on it, but I'm trying to give you that sort of inspiration, that motivation. Although don't wait for that feeling, but I'm trying to give you that. Just take it, go for it, see how it goes. Because if you say, look, well, I'm going to feel like shit, I can't do it, you're never going to make any progress. Think where you could be in a year's time if you started making change today. Okay, it's an exciting thought, it really is. You could start having your life back on track. You could start calling the shots to your life and living life on your terms if you take that leap today. Stop trying to take shortcuts. Look at what's bothering you, look what's disturbing you, rip them apart, go towards your fears, confront your fears, do your exposures, cut your compulsions, okay? Really try and look at how can I shift my belief on this? How can I change my perspective on this? Okay, and I think Nick said this, and this was an excellent point. He said, imagine you're boxed in, because with OCD you're boxed in, and you've got 4 walls around you, and there's a door in the corner, and that door in the corner says, you can get out of here, but on one condition. You have to go towards your worst case scenario. You have to lean into your worst case scenario and completely change your perspective on your worst case scenario, and therefore unconditionally accept your worst case scenario. Now, that's the only way out, I'm afraid. You're not going to be able to just, if I just do this mindfulness technique, then I can get to a robust level of peace. No, it doesn't work like that. You're going to have to go through the really rough ride of all the symptoms it brings, all the anxiety it brings, all the confusion, the feelings of hopelessness when you feel totally lost on the journey. You're going to have to go through all of that, okay? Remember, just to highlight, you can't shortcut your way there. You can't just go through a loophole. I found this secret way of getting better. Nope. You're going to have to go the distance. You're going to have to go the long run. You're going to have to run the marathon. Okay, remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Okay, it's going to take time. You can get there. You will get there. It requires work and practice, work and practice, work and practice, consistency over and over and over again, acting against the compulsions, breaking down the core fears, seeing what's causing you the disturbance today, and you can get to a robust level of recovery. Just stop trying to take shortcuts. Stop trying to cut corners. If you need help with this, please email phil@ocdrecovery.com. You can get in touch with one of the coaches here. I'm Sam. You've got Rob, you've got Nick, you've got Mom, and you've got Gemma. Please email Phil. You can get in touch with us, and we will book you in as soon as possible. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you has, please leave a like and please subscribe for further content on the channel. You take care, guys, and we'll speak again. Bye-bye.